So we're going to continue talking about the relationship between factors and being able to factor a polynomial completely, and then additionally the x-intercepts once we have factors. And so what you saw before is if I have factored form, how I can find zeros, how I can graph those zeros, how I can identify those zeros, and there is a direct relationship between those zeros and the factor. And so sometimes you'll get these little bit more complicated problems that are not factored yet, and you will have to factor them to be able to graph them or find the zeros using Desmos if you want to make the connections directly between the zeros and the factors. Otherwise, you can just graph something like x cubed minus 13x squared plus 44x minus 32 directly into Desmos, and you'll be able to see the x-intercepts from there, identifying those zeros. If you understand the connection between the zeros and the factors, that sets you up really, really well, and you can kind of work backwards from those results to figure out what the factors are. In this problem, they give us that the factor is x minus 4, and when we have factor, we know that the remainder is equal to 0. Now that's a nice result because it implies to us that we do not need to use long division. The reverse tabular method will work really, really well and just as easily. So to review it, we'll start off making our box, and as a reminder, if you have a cubic divided by a linear, that results in a quadratic. That's why I need 3 boxes by 2 boxes. The 2 boxes are filled up by the x minus 4. And I know I'll start here on the top left to give us a little bit more practice, and if everything works out, I should be able to check that box off in the bottom right that I have done things correctly. So then I start asking myself these cyclic questions. What did I multiply x by to get x cubed, which is x squared? Then I'm able to multiply the x squared times the negative 4, so I have negative 4x squared. I go back to my original polynomial, and I realize I want a negative 13x squared. I already have 4 of them, so I need negative 9x squared to fill that in. What did I multiply x by to get negative 9x squared, which is negative 9x? Negative 9x times negative 4 is positive 36x. I need to have a total of 44 x's, so I need 8 more. What did I multiply x by to get 8x? Well, that must have been a positive 8, and then positive 8 times negative 4 is a negative 32, which matches the constant. I'm going to check this box, so now I've done it correctly. Understanding the connection between a factor and factored form of a polynomial, I now know that f of x can be expressed as x minus 4 times x squared minus 9x plus 8. If I could continue to factor that, that really is nice for me. So this can be x minus 4, x minus 8, and x minus 1. Factored form. Factored form really helps us if we're trying to find the x-intercepts or the zeros of a graph. So I can kind of look at it like this. If I take f of x out and I put the 0 in, I have 0 equals x cubed minus 13x squared minus 44x minus 32. I know the new way to write this, or the factored form, instead of standard form, would be x minus 4, x minus 8, and x minus 1 equals 0. Setting each factor equal to 0. Because of the 0 product property, I have x minus 4 equals 0, x minus 8 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. So x equals 4, x equals 8, and x equals 1. Now, if I had used Desmos as described by the teacher, I could compare the answers I got algebraically with the ones that I'm witnessing on the graph. And so right now what you guys want to do is kind of summarize how did the factor help you express the polynomial in factored form, what's the connection between the factors and the zeros of a graph, and how could I potentially, this is the extension, how could I potentially start with a 0 and work backwards to find the factors, and then work factors into possibly writing out the original polynomial in standard form. Just some thoughts. Please summarize what you've learned, write down any burning questions, bring them into class tomorrow. Thank you.